Well, guys, it's that time of the week again. Time to take a look at the comics solicitation so I can tell you what I'm getting. What's up, guys? BJ Kicks here. I buy comics, I read them, and I review them, all for your viewing pleasure. So if you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. Now on this channel, I do comic book unboxings, reviews, and really everything in between. So if you're new here and you're interested in that type of content, hit the subscribe button, then hit the bell icon so that you're notified whenever new videos of mine go live. Now this is another episode of What I'm Getting. It's a brand new month. I get to start fresh and try to hit my budget target for the month once again. It's always fun seeing which books made the cut, which books didn't. There's some really exciting events going on this week that I got on my pull list. So anyway, this is the show where I take a look at what books are coming out. I tell you what I'm getting, what's on the chopping block, and what's on the maybe list for the week. Now, I always like to start with the book that I'm most excited for, but before I do that, I do want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Hive Comicade. Hive Comicade is a brand new comic book retailer. They're an online retailer, and they specialize in independent titles from creators that you may not be as familiar with, especially creators of color, which is super dope. I mean, they carry titles like Harriet Tubman, Demon Slayer, and they have, Diamond and Penguin accounts, and so they have access to all the other comics that you know and love as well. But they're a brand new online retailer, and not only are they an online retailer, but if you're local to the Raleigh-Durham area like I am, they also throw pop-up events, and they have their first event coming up this Thursday evening for the premiere of Shang-Chi. So if you're in Raleigh, head up to Regal at North Hills. They have an event going on from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. So of course you can get tickets to the premiere of the movie if you're so inclined, but they're going to have comics for sale. There's a cosplay contest, so come dressed as your favorite Marvel character. The best costume is going to win a prize. It is a family event, so you can bring your kids. There's a family cosplay contest as well. So if you're an adult and you want to bring your kid, you guys dress up together, come up with a team idea, you can win a prize, as well as the best solo Marvel costume wins a prize as well. Very cool events. I'll leave all the information in the description below. Of course, you can view all the information as well as a bunch of books for sale and register for the cosplay contest at hivecomicade.com. So shout out to Hive Comicade for being today's sponsor. Now, I get to tell you about all the books coming out this week that I've got my eye on. And like I said, I like to start with the book that I'm most excited for. This week, that was actually a difficult decision, but I decided to go with an event from Marvel. This is Dark Ages, written by Tom Taylor with artwork by Iban Coelho. I believe I'm saying that correctly. I've never invested in a Marvel event outside of, House of X and stuff. I didn't read King in Black as it was coming out. I didn't read Absolute Carnage. This will be my first Marvel story event. I don't even know if this is a crossover or if it's just the Dark Ages series, but the lights are out in the Marvel Universe. There is some looming threat. The Avengers, the X-Men, pretty much everyone you know in the Marvel Universe has to team up to try to take this threat out. And I'm excited about it. Tom Taylor is my favorite writer in comics right now. He writes my favorite ongoing series, which is Nightwing. Everything I've read from him has been amazing. He wrote Deceased. He wrote All New Wolverine. He's written a lot that I loved. Injustice. So I'm excited to see his take on the Marvel Universe. This will be my first Marvel book written by Tom Taylor. I know he had a run on Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and, like I said, All New Wolverine, but I haven't read those yet. But anyway, I'm excited to see what he brings to the Marvel Universe, and if it's anything like Deceased, you know it's going to be action-packed, it's going to be fast-paced, and it's going to make you care about the characters, and that's what I love, and that's why this is going to be my #1 most anticipated book this week. But Dark Ages from Marvel Comics has a cover price of $4.99. There are a lot of covers. I'm going to get the cover A, but there are a bunch of covers, and they all look pretty interesting, so be on the lookout for those. Now, since we're talking about Marvel Comics, there is only one other book on my Marvel pull list this week, and that is Sinister War #4, wrapping up the Sinister War event, or at least in the main event. Of course, Nick Spencer's got one more issue with Spider-Man before we finally figure out the fate of Peter Parker. So I'm excited to see what's going on. You know, with issue 75 of Spider-Man, we're going to get a brand new person in the costume. I'm not spoiling that for anyone, but I'm sure people know. But anyway, so we know Spider-Man Beyond is happening, and that's a whole new story arc with new people. We got to figure out what's going on with Peter Parker, and the Sinister War event is where we're getting that information. So Sinister War number 4, written by Nick Spencer, art by Mark Bagley. It's got a cover price of $4.99, and I'm just getting the cover A. And that's it for my Marvel Comics pull list. So if I just stick to the list, my Marvel Comics are going to cost me just $10 this week. A very welcome change from the norm. All right, so Marvel Comics are out of the way. A light week from Marvel, but let's talk about DC. Now, from DC Comics is coming the issue that almost got my choice for most anticipated. They were neck and neck. But anyway, another DC event starting. This is Batman Fear State, the Alpha issue. I feel like it's listed as Alpha number 1, but that's redundant. So we're just going to call it the Alpha issue, kicking off James Tynion's last event as the main writer on Batman. And of course, it's a crossover with all the Batman titles: Catwoman, Harley Quinn, Nightwing. Whatever Bat book exists, even the new I Am Batman series by John Ridley has Fear State tie-ins. So I'm really excited. I loved the Joker War last year, including all the tie-ins. And I expect that James Tynion is going to go out with a bang to set up and usher in the new era of Batman. It's going to be written by Joshua Williamson. So again, I'm really excited for this Batman Fear State event. And I'm excited for this Alpha issue. And now this one's got a bunch of covers too. Just to be safe, I'm going to go with the cover A because I'm not sure which ones are open order, which ones are retailer exclusive. The one I love the most that I've seen is the Jason Fabok cover with Batman and Nightwing. Love that cover. But anyway, it's a Batman book. It's an event. It's written by James Tynion. There's really not a lot anyone had to do to sell me on this series. So the Batman Fear State Alpha issue has a cover price of $4.99, and I'm just getting the cover A, unless there's a dope variant in the shop. Next up is Batman Superman Annual number 1. Now, you guys already know I was going to drop this series, but then I decided to keep it just because I had a very close to a full run. This is literally collector problems. But anyway, Gene Lin Yang's Superman or Batman Superman book has had some pretty good reviews. It's hard to read a book that feels inconsequential, right? It feels like it doesn't really matter to whatever else is going on in the DC universe. So it makes its way to the bottom of my reading pile every time. But I plan to, treat it like one of those palate cleanser type book. Whenever I'm like tired of like dark stories or whatever, pick that up and see what's going on. But anyway, the Batman Superman Annual 2021 has a cover price of $4.99. I'm just getting the cover A. Next up from DC Comics, speaking of Joshua Williamson, is Infinite Frontier number 5. Now, in just a couple of months, Joshua Williamson has basically kind of turned into the de facto lead writer of DC. He was already the architect of this new continuity in Infinite Frontier. And then he's writing the Robin series, and now he's writing the main Batman series as well. I feel like it's going to be that much more important to understand everything that Josh Williamson's writing, because I believe it's all going to tie in together eventually. So Infinite Frontier number 5 has a cover price of $4.99, and I'm just getting the cover A. And lastly, the last book on my DC Comics pull list comes from Milestone Media. This is Static Season 1, Issue number 3. Now, the reason this didn't make my pick of the week, a couple reasons. One, I am actually really excited for those events, and they're issue number 1. So, like, my expectations are kind of, you don't know what to expect when you haven't read the first issue yet. Static Season 1 is going pretty well so far. I really love Nick Draper Ivy's artwork. This one has actually been out digitally for like a week now. I don't know if DC even knows this. So I've read the issue several times. Nick Draper Ivy does the artwork in about half of the issue. And unfortunately, the other half just isn't quite as strong. Chris Cross is a legend, and Chris Cross is definitely a legend in Milestone Media, but there's just something about that kinetic artwork from Nick Draper Ivy that I really love. And this issue could have done better with Nick Draper Ivy doing finishes all the way through just because of the subject matter. We're getting Static in his new suit. We're getting him kind of getting chased down by police. I don't want to spoil the issue. It's a great issue, and you should definitely grab it if you were enjoying the Static Season 1 series up until this point. But that's got a cover price of $3.99, and I'm just getting the cover A. And that's going to do it for my DC Comics pull list. So if I just stick to the list, only buy the books I named, and don't just buy a bunch of extra variants, then my DC Comics are just going to cost me $19 this week. Again, outside of the norm, but I'm loving it. Now, let's talk about indie titles. Alright, so it's time to talk about indie comics, creator-owned comics, smaller publishers, whatever you want to call them. The indies are really where the heat is these days. Like, there are so many great titles coming out outside of the big two. There's really no excuse to not have a comic book that you love, right? If you are willing to take a look outside of the major publishers, there are a lot of great stories to be had, whether you like superhero stuff, whether you like more slice of life, family stuff. It's all in the indies. But anyway, I got a few books on my indie pull list this week. Starting out with one that I'm really excited for. This is Black Cotton, issue number 5. Now, Black Cotton, I thought it was a miniseries. It turns out it's an ongoing series, and we're just in the first story arc. So this is the penultimate issue of the first story arc. But anyway, if you're not familiar, Black Cotton is a story about an alternate universe where race relations, or the race roles traditionally, are switched, right? So the black people are the ones with the power and the wealth, and there's this influential family, like generationally wealthy, like Rockefellers, right? And they're the Cotton family. And basically, one of their descendants, there's a kid who is a police officer. He shoots an unarmed minority white woman. She lives, and this series is really about the fallout and ramifications of that moment in history. How does the family handle it? How do their rivals handle it? And of course, how does the family of the victim handle it? So it's really cool. It's definitely, a little bit more political than some of the other things that I read normally, but I've been loving this series so far. This issue, we're going to get another glimpse at I don't want to call them villains, but like the rivals that we met in issue number 3. I'm really excited for that payoff as issue number 6 comes and wraps up. If you're interested in this series, I'm probably going to do a full review in a couple of weeks after issue 6 comes out, because the trade paperback is already up for pre-order. I'll leave a link in the description below. But Black Cotton number 5 has a cover price of $3.99, and I'm just getting cover A. Next up is Firepower issue 15. Firepower by Robert Kirkman. I'm so behind on this series. Art by Chris Samney. I love it. Every time I read it, I love it. I don't have as much time to read. I got a newborn and stuff. There's probably drool stains on my shirt. It's rough. Dad life is rough. Dad life, that's why I'm wearing a dad hat. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm loving this series, and eventually I'll get back to reading it. It's got a cover price of $3.99, and I'm getting the cover A. Next up is a book that I wasn't even going to buy, but this is Geiger, issue number 6. Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, Brad Anderson. That's like a match made in heaven. That's like the team that you want creating a comic book. Like, let's just be real. But I literally have not read a single issue of this series. Rather than drop it just to buy the trade paperback later, I decided to finish out the first story arc. And from what I understand, this is the first story for now. Like, we don't have an issue 7 solicited. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if the series continues. I'm sure it will. But with it being creator owned, you never know. You never know. So I'm excited about it, and eventually I'll read the whole thing and do a retro reviews for you. But Geiger issue 6 has a cover price of $4.99, and I'm just getting the cover A. Next up, speaking of Image Comics, you can't talk Image without talking Todd McFarlane, and you can't talk Todd McFarlane without talking Spawn. Spawn issue 321 is out this week. We got a bunch of stuff going on in the Spawn universe. We just got King Spawn. We got She Spawn coming later. We got Gunslinger Spawn coming later. So a bunch of books, a bunch of stuff going on. I need to get caught up with the Spawn universe, and I believe this new arc starts out in issue 318. So I'm excited about that. As far as Spawn covers, they always have a cover price of $2.99, and I usually get the cover B. The Todd McFarlane covers is what I usually go after, and I'm doing the same this week. So, like I said, cover price $2.99, and why not buy Spawn? Spawn's always got great art. It's always $2.99. They've got these cardstock covers now. there's no reason not to buy Spawn. It's everything anyone loves about comic books. But anyway, next up from Image Comics and Skybound from Robert Kirkman is The Walking Dead Deluxe number 22. They're reprinting The Walking Dead. I keep saying this. I don't know how many times I'm going to say it. I think Walking Dead ran for like 196 issues or something like that. They're printing all of them in color with cardstock covers done by David Finch with extras in the back and all that for just $3.99. So I'm going to finish out that series, or I'll buy it until they cancel it. This is what I'm doing. This one's got a cover price, like I said, of $3.99, and I'm just getting the cover A. And that's it for my independent, creator-owned, small publisher pull list. If I just stick to the list, my indie comics are just going to cost me $20 this week. And I got an announcement to make. I am under budget. My grand total for this week, if I just stick to the list, before taxes, before my subscriber discount at my LCS, $49 is the grand total. I did it. I did it. I did it. I stayed under budget for a week. Well, I guess we'll see when I get the final receipt. Now, this book isn't on my pull list because it's technically not a new book, but I do want to mention it. This week, there is an Ultimate Fallout 4 facsimile edition being sold in stores. So if you missed out on the first print, like I did until I got it on layaway for like $300, if you don't want to pay $300 for a raw copy, you don't want to pay $2,000 for a CGC 9.8, run to your shop, grab this facsimile edition of the first appearance of Miles Morales. It is available in stores. There's a bunch of store exclusives for this issue as well, so be on the lookout. I would name them, but none of these stores paid me, so. I like the Frankie's Comic Mike Mayhew exclusive, though. I love that one. But anyway, go ahead and grab whatever books you want. I hope you saw something you liked in this video. Let me know what's on your pull list. I want to know which books you're picking up. Which books did you drop? Are you staying under your budget? Did you hit your budget target this week? That's what I need to know. So let me know in the comments below. Check out our channel sponsors in the description. Like I said, that event going on this Thursday at Hive Comicade or at Regal Cinemas is going to be super dope. So you'll find the information about that in the description. While you're there, you can join the K Squad, which is my group, where we talk about comics and have fun doing it. So anyway, now that I've done all the YouTube-y stuff, I hope you saw something you liked in this video. And if not, hey, that's cool. You can always buy what you like. Just make sure you read what you buy. And be nice to others, because kindness makes the world go round. Peace.